My door opened itself.
I did.
And the bright light.
I did.
Right over my shoulder.
He and I, as you heard a little while ago, are very connected. And I sat up in bed and I raced to the bathroom, and he was lying on the floor dying. He had been poisoned. Now, I'll get to how that happened in a moment. So I had two choices, Dick. I could let him die in my arms, or I could call an ambulance and take him into the belly of the beast, a very dangerous place.
Yeah. That door was closed. We'll play the tape back, but the door opened itself and the light appeared. Not a coincidence. When you write a book with Bert and he's giving you messages, how does that, what are you in an altered state? Are you doing electronic enhancement? Is it dream state? How does that come to you?
Story's a funny one. I was sitting in the room. We were still in New Jersey, and so I had rented a room in order to be near Bert. I was sitting in the room after he died, weeping copiously, and my phone rang. Now, this phone was given to me by the friend that we were staying with in New Jersey. She said, "You'll need a cell phone, and my company has extras. Here, take a cell phone." So this phone does not have my name associated with it. It has the company name associated with it. So my phone rang, and a woman said, "Is this Dr. Rima?" I said, "Yes." She told me her name. She said, "I have a message for you from the general." I said, "How did you get my number?" She said, "Spirit gave it to me." Okay, Spirit runs a directory assistance. I said, "Okay." And she gave me information that could only be personal to me, from Bert, specific. And I said, "Say more." And I spoke to her every day over the next short period of time. Well, what happened, as you know, as a remote viewer, is that there is a phenomenon called overlay. And it's very, very difficult for most people to sort out personal contribution from data. Very difficult to tell the difference, which is why Bert's protocol uses a monitor to help sort that out. But anyway, her overlay, she was a well-intentioned lady, but her overlay began to overtake the data from Bert. And she was giving me more and more and more of her fantasy rather than Bert. And so I went looking for other people who were better conduits. And I found lots of people with lots of high recommendations who were total failures at giving me Bert instead of themselves. The term general kind of got them to have all these fantasies about what that meant and so on. It was bullshit. So finally, after spending a good deal of money for a 120-minute session with a woman who was the real deal, but was just babbling garbage, I was furious. I take verbatim notes. I've always done that in my sessions. And I had been taking verbatim notes of her crap, and I was furious. So at the end of her 2-hour babble, I was really angry, and I slammed my hands down on the keyboard, which is not good for the keyboard. And I said, "God damn it, I'll do it myself. Talk to me, Bert." At which point I began, I can't say it's hearing, I began knowing the communication, and I was typing it, and tears were rolling down my little cheeks, and I was writing, "I got to be making this shit up. I got to be making this shit up." And Bert was very patient, and we went through that. And gradually I said, "Okay, I don't understand this. How can this be? But okay, because what I'm getting is definitely Bert, not me, stuff I don't know from him." And so on we went. And so I sit at the keyboard and I type my stuff, which I put in blue so it can be distinguished. And then I say, "Okay, talk to me." And things happen, and I type, and then I go back. And since I'm doing this with my eyes closed, and I'm probably in a state that's either theta or delta borderline, theta belt borderline delta. Not sure because I haven't done the EEG quantification, but it's obviously an altered state.
Yeah.
And then I go back the next day and I correct the spelling errors because my eyes are closed and there are spelling errors. And then I put it up on the website where people who are interested can go following the publication of his several books, because at this point there are a number of them. And the information is interesting and important, not because he's comforting a dearly beloved widow. That's cool, but that's not why it's important for the rest of the world. This has to do with the mission. So we started applying the techniques and the technology and doing some research. And people would say, people started coming to my practice of psychiatry and neurology, which is what I was trained in after medical school, with non-psychiatric diagnoses. They had been told that they had, quote, failed the therapy, and so they had no hope. They should
they failed the therapy. The therapy didn't fail them. Term. They failed the
in
therapy.
medicine. The patient fails the therapy. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
yeah, because we're omnipotent, so we can't fail, but the patient can fail. That is the official terminology for somebody for whom the therapy didn't work. The patient failed the therapy.
That's amazing.
So they were told that they failed the therapy, that they were going to die, that they had to live with the pain, that there was no hope, go away kind of thing. So they started coming to my office from all over the world because I wasn't using any drugs and people were getting better, and desperate people have desperate friends. So people would come and say, I have this and that and the other thing, and I've been told that I'm going to die. Can you help? And I would say, I don't know, but we can try. And so we would use neurobiofeedback and nutrition and detoxification and frequencies of various other sorts. And generally the answer was, oh, look, I'm completely well. That's cool. And then they'd go and tell their friends, and they would send their friends to me.
They didn't fail that therapy.
They did not fail the therapy unless it was their intention to die. Then they failed the therapy. And that was very interesting and now General Burt was a hands-on energy healer of incredible talent, incredible capacity, just sort of naturally, because why not? And so I would sort of have to whop him upside the head and say, wait, if you cure them, they're not in charge of their own health. Stop that. You can help them, but you can't cure them. You got to teach them to cure themselves.
So your site, again, is preventgenocide2030.org.
Let me make clear that none of this speculative metaphysical stuff is represented there. It's a very practical, political, geopolitical action site. I don't talk about this ordinarily because
this is today's
crazy.
Politics, how to solve the Prevent Genocide 2030 is just what it sounds like. How do we prevent this genocide that's happening? Nuts and bolts.
So if all of this craziness is not acceptable to you, just ignore it and go to the geopolitical situation and save humanity there. That's a good thing.
All right. I'm just amazed that Bert showed up and opened my door and shined the light. That was right when we were talking about him.
I'm not amazed.
Bert, good job. We saw that. Play the tape back. Go back and watch that.
I watched it. I saw it.
Yeah, I saw.
Bert makes rainbows appear, and I have photographic evidence. I was in China, and I was in a place where there are white stone Buddhas in cave after cave after cave, thousands and thousands of them. One of them is 60 feet high, and Bert. I have photographs of Bert creating images so that I would see his communication with me on the chest and on the knee of the Buddha. And then after I took the photograph, I mean, they were really quite dramatic. Then they're no longer there. Bert's a cool guy.
I had a friend that was this was about 5 years ago. I didn't know how ill he was, but he was in the hospital and was lapsing into a coma. And I went to the ocean to swim one morning. It was a Saturday morning. And I got there about a little after 8. And I looked at my watch. It was like 8:12 because I was going to time my swim. And I was wading into the water. And this flash of light came streaking across the water and like hit me in the face, like boom. This streak of light just physically, and it blinded me for a few seconds. I was like, what the hell was that? And it was like, man. And I got home and I got an email that my friend had passed at that very time. So,
I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, they come to, I mean, we just saw it happen right there. My door opened itself. So thank you, Bert. Thank you, Dr. Rima. We'll have some more conversations. I'd like to get that information about the.
I'm going to send you some material. I'll send you some ebooks. People can go to nsfmarketplace.com and the General Speaks is there for download, but there's a whole lot more besides that. So it's pretty cool stuff if you have a taste for the scientifically valid weird. And a remote viewer certainly should.
I've so much enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to talking to you again. Aloha.
Thank you, Dick.
Hawaii.
It was a pleasure.
One more quick question.
Yes.
You and Bert, Jim Shannon, were you interacting with Jim Shannon in recent years?
No, I was not. Bert, of course, knew him. Yeah. And they had some light communication, but nothing very consequential.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks again for the great conversation, Dr. Rima.
My pleasure. It was a joy.
And Bert, thank you for dropping in.